Yo sup, this is your boy NY3. Now, I said I was gonna play some Dragunities, and I did end up playing some Dragunities. Quite a lot of Dragunity actually throughout the past few weeks. Specifically, I played Dragunities all throughout Master Duel qualifiers a few weeks ago, and I gave the deck a solid test run at New Zealand Nationals just the past weekend. Now, unfortunately, I did scrub Nationals, but I've made a few tweaks to the deck since then, and I feel like I finally got the deck at a level where I feel like, as a responsible adult, I can put it out to the world in video form. So this is gonna be the deck list video. The deck, surprisingly, is quite good. It's much better than I thought. When I first read the cards, I thought, Dragunity is just gonna be like a tier 8 deck or something. But I feel like this is at least a solid tier 4 deck. It's a deck where I wouldn't mind bringing to a regional further down the line going forward. And it's a deck that I can definitely see winning some smaller scale events like OTSs without a problem. The deck is also surprisingly very fun. It's very open-ended. You can basically do anything you want with the deck, provided you have the imagination as well as the extra deck space. Extra deck space is a premium for this deck. If you have those two things, this deck can achieve anything basically. This deck can be hybrided with any dragon decks you want because of a tomb, because of Heretic Spheres getting tributed over with Samsara Dragon. You can access any dragon engine in the game that you want. So you can make Dragon Maid hybrids, you can make Rocket hybrids, you can make Bestial hybrids, you can make Red Eyes Metamorph hybrids, and you can even make Gandora hybrids. So, one card Gandora FTK is possible with this deck, which might actually be worth considering running in this format right now, because a lot of people are dropping hand traps in favor of board breakers. So if you don't want to deal with all the board breakers going on, you can simply just run or side the FTK. So yeah, very open-ended, very fun, only limited by your imagination and extra deck space. This video is only going to be about the deck list. The next video is going to be the combo video, and the video I'm gonna make after that is the tutorial on how to play through various hand traps with this deck. And maybe I'll make a fourth video where I go over all of the, hybrid builds that I mentioned. But this is the pure build. I feel like it is the most streamlined version of this deck, and the best at playing through hand traps is the pure build that I'm gonna show right now. So I'm gonna start with the extra deck. But yeah, here goes. 1 Georges, 1 3-burst Shot Dragon, 1 Romulus, 1 Spheres, 1 Pisty, 1 number 38 Harbinger, 1 Dissipator, 1 Ascalon, 1 Erebra, 1 Crystal Wing, 1 Berkshire, 1 Lewin, 1 Gatorg, and double Snake Eyes Doom Dragon. Now, the first choice that you have to make as a Dragunity player is if you want to run the 3-burst Shot Dragon or the Striker Dragon for your Link Arrows with Pisty. Striker Dragon obviously has its advantages, but ultimately I decided on the 3-burst because it's much more generic. You can make it with winged beasts rather than dragons. You can make it with cards that you've taken from your opponent, for example, of Triple Tactics Talent. Also, this making Triple Burst clears up a main monster zone. Sometimes your main monster zone is just too clogged, and if you make a Striker Dragon that's using a card in your main monster zone to make another card in the main monster zone, which can be a problem. I mean, obviously that sounds like a my lobster is too buttery kind of thing, but it does come up. 3-burst also has 3 different effects. 2 of them are completely irrelevant. The piercing is basically completely irrelevant. The reborning link 2 is completely irrelevant. The third effect, however, does have some niche uses, the ability to negate in the damage step. So sometimes it comes up where you use a triple burst to negate a ray reviving in the damage step when you run over a Sky Striker. Which is why I ultimately ended up on running the 3-burst over the Striker Dragon. Now the next thing that you may notice is the new guy, Dragunity Areus is not in the lineup. Now, I think it's not that good, but I also feel like you do need to run a second thing for Georges. So right now, Georges, the only thing worth summoning of Georges is the Areus. Some combos, you like make a Areus and have the Georges on the field. So if you want to get maximum value of the Georges, you run the Areus to summon off the Georges. So the replacement for Areus that I found is quite nice. It's a Dispatter. So instead of making the Areus, you make a Dispatter, and then you still have the Areus in the extra deck to summon off Georges. So that's the other quite kind of obvious thing that's missing from this extra deck that's worth talking about. The standard combo uses at least 11 cards from the extra deck and up to 14 cards from the extra deck to accomplish. So basically, if we just line the extra deck up, the 11 cards that always gets used would be these 11. So Dispatter and Crystal Wing sometimes doesn't get summoned. The second Dumais sometimes doesn't get summoned. And Escalon obviously doesn't get summoned in a turn 1 combo because it's a turn 2 card. If you're doing the full combo with 14 cards, then everything except the Escalon gets used. I even considered siding the Escalon. So if you have a Dragluxion, you can just do the normal combo, and then you can Dragluxion into basically the best counter trap in the whole game, Tachyon Transmigration. You just get a Tachyon Transmigration out of nowhere for running extra Dragluxion and 2 bricks in the deck, which I do recommend actually, but you would have to side the Escalon for going second. Now the Escalon isn't that important in most matchups, even going second, because you have double Doom Dragon, which can, non-destruction remove 2 monsters. However, Doom Dragon only works on face-ups, so Escalon is still quite good in, for example, the Enneacraft matchup, because Escalon can just banish 5 face-downs. There are also quite a lot of extra deck cards that would side for specific matchups or going second, in which case, the Dispatter and the second Doom Dragon probably going out. The Dispatter first, because the second Doom Dragon is basically there to make the Dispatter, but also has other uses, obviously, other than making the Dispatter. If you don't have the second Doom Dragon, I don't really see the Dispatter ever getting made, so that's the first thing you would side out. And the Doom Dragon would be the second thing. So this could be the Dragluxion in this case, if you want to run it. And this would be the side deck option. So side deck options such as Dingirsu against Lunalight Liger Tiger. Dingirsu can protect your whole field from 2 nukes. So you can protect yourself from double Liger nukes. Or you could side the Trishula Contact Fusion. So when against Enneacraft specifically, when they flip all your guys face down and start clogging your zones, you can contact fuse 3 guys for the Trishula, as well as banishing Tempest from your deck. So you open up 3 zones and get a Tempest Search with the Trishula if you side it. So yeah, that's about it for the extra deck. Now for the main deck. So I'll just go over quickly and then explanation comes afterwards. So triple Curinus, the new guy, triple Remus, triple Ravine, Terraforming, and a Gold Sarcophagus, 3 Small Worlds, Tempest, and a set rotation. So that's the 16 1-card starters. We also have 1 Falchion, 1 Kus, 1 Phalanx, double Divine Wind, 1 Legatus, 1 Divine Lance, 1 Glow, and 1 Mistleton. So these are the combo pieces that aren't 1-card starters, but can still go into the combo if you open 2 of them. For the bricks, we have Zephyros the Elite. So this is basically involved in no 2-card combos. But it is good discard of Ravine, etc. I'm running a Grand Task Dragon, which is a brick for the spheres, Heavenly Spheres. That's my chosen out to set Albaz. Which is quite common these days. We'll have a Sheena Twin Tempest. This is a new card. It's not quite a hand trap. It's kind of a board breaker. That's alright. For the good cards, we have 3. We got a Triple Tactics Talent, a Call by the Grave, and a Crossout Designator. So 9 combo pieces, 3 bricks, 3 good cards. And for the final 14 cards, we have all hand traps, 2 Drolls, 3 Ashes, DD Crow, Magdamut, Ghost Mourner, triple Fualos, and triple Imperm. To round it out to 45 cards. Because we have 16 starters, because I wanted to max out on Small World, I'll get into why later on. We have a bit too many starters to run only 40 cards, which is why I bumped it up to 45, giving it an overall 93.5% approximate chance to combo, so 6.5% chance to hard brick. For the starters, the tier 1 starters are these guys here. Coronus. Coronus is probably the best one because you don't need, it's the only starter where you don't need any discard. So if you open, say, 4 hand traps and a Coronus, and you don't want to lose value by discarding the hand traps of Ravine, you can totally just Coronus combo without any discards. The discards will make the combo slightly better, but the option is there with Coronus. For the rest of the starters, they're all gonna need Ravine discards, but they're still tier 1 starters as well. So the Remus is probably the next best one. Better than Ravine because obviously you get a Remus in the grave, but they're essentially the same thing. They all get to Coronus. Terraforming, slightly worse than Ravine because of drawing Lockbird. Gold Sarcophagus, banishing. Gold Sarcophagus is slightly worse than Terraforming, just because there is a chance that you draw both the Gold Sarc and the Tempest, and then you're kind of screwed. But yeah, the 11 cards are your tier 1 starters. Your like kind of tier 1.5 starters are the 3 Small Worlds and the Tempest. They specifically need monsters to discard. Small Worlds, well, it's not a discard, it's a banish, but you specifically need monsters to banish, and Tempest is even more restrictive in that you have to discard it along with a wind monster. Now, basically the whole deck is wind apart from just a couple of hand traps here and there and Zephyros and whatnot, but it's still gonna be slightly worse than Small World as a starter. Now, Small World does a lot of things, which is why I maxed on it. Specifically, first of all, Small World basically bridges anything into anything in this deck via drawing Lockbird, because every relevant card here is a wind, and draw. None of them are spellcasters, none of them are level 1, so you just reveal draw from deck for Small World, and you can bridge into any card you want. Ash also Small Worlds into draw because of the 0 attack. Like DD Crow into draw for Small World because they're both level 1. Fualos, Ghost Mourner, they're all wins, so they can all bridge into draw, which bridges to anything. The only awkward card for Small World is the Zephyros. That's the only awkward one to bridge. But all of the dragons are pretty easy to bridge, like the Grand Task, the Sheena, the Magdamut. They're all pretty easy to bridge with Small World. But the cool thing about Small World is that it can search the Drawing Lockbird. Basically anything can also bridge into the Drawing Lockbird. So these are outs to 4 loss. So this deck runs 10 outs to 4 loss. You have 3 Small Worlds, 2 draws, 3 Ashes, Call By, and Cross Out. So 10 outs to 4 loss, that's about a 74% chance to see a 4 loss out in your opening hand when you're comboing. This deck can play under draw pretty well, which is why, we're able to use draw as an out to 4 loss. If you're playing underdraw, your end board would only be 1, maximum 2 disrupts less underdraw, which is pretty decent. And finally, set rotation is the only tier 2 1-card starter. It's quite restrictive. It's nice in that your opponent can't imperm you after you set rotation. But if you are forced to use set rotation as your first action, you're missing out on, Zephyros bouncing the ravine, activating the ravine again, getting 2 searches. You're missing out on the most critical play of the deck, which is switching out your ravine for Divine Wind. So if you use set rotation as a starter, you only get 4 disrupts rather than 8 disrupts. So that's by far the worst starter as a tier 2 starter. But as a 2-card combo piece, set rotation is the best 2-card combo piece by far. Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Now for the 2-card combo pieces, I'm running 9 of them. Falchion is the best one because it's 2-card combo with all 8 of the other ones. Kus and Felix are only combo pieces with 7 of the other ones. It's specifically not combo piece with each other. So if you open both of them, you're in for a pretty bad time. Divine Wind combos with, I believe, 6 of the other ones. These 4 right here only combos with 4 of the other ones, so they're kind of the worst ones. For quite a long time, I did cut the Glow package completely in favor of a 3rd Divine Wind. But then I found, since Divine Wind is a better combo piece than Glow, and I don't really use Glow for anything because as you saw in my extra deck, I didn't run a Tomb. So Glow is the summon from equip effect is not that important. But yeah, the 3rd Divine Wind did kind of brick quite a lot, even though it is one of the better combo pieces, simply because you only have 10 Dragunity names without the Glow and the Glow target. If you add the Glow and the Glow target, there's 12 Dragunity names, which actually makes the Divine Wind better than if you run more Divine Winds, because Divine Wind doesn't combo with Divine Wind. Of course, Falchion, being the best combo piece that combos with all the other ones, is probably the one you would want to bump up to 2 if you want to have a bit more consistency, which I don't think the deck really needs, which is why I'm running 1. Phalanx, there's kind of an argument for running 2 Phalanxes, especially for the hybrid builds, because Phalanx is the one that makes all the weird non-Dragunity synchros. I was also running the Dragunity Armogram for quite a while. I was testing out Armogram. Since, level 10 used to be pretty bad, but now it's pretty good because we had, a bunch of level 12 synchros get released. So if you run the Armogram, you could also run the Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. You would probably replace the Dispatter with it, since Venge Dragon is just much better than Dispatter. And basically the idea is when you make Romulus, you can search something. You can search a spell trap that gets you a monster. So you go Glow into Armogram, and then you banish the Glow later on to summon Gayderg from your equip, and then you get a Gayderg, which can add the DD Crow and discard the Armogram. And then when you have the Armogram to revive later on, you can synchro it with a Phalanx for the Vengeance Dragon. So I was doing that for a while, but I felt like the Armogram was just not doing enough to warrant its place. I still kept the DD Crow though, because quite often you just have Fualoses in hand or whatnot that you can cycle with the Gayderg into a DD Crow. And yeah, that's why the 1 random DD Crow is here. There's also other hand traps, or mainly one other hand trap that you can run instead of the DD Crow for situations like that. When you go full combo and have an extra Gayderg search, you can also search Hope Dragon instead of DD Crow, which is a hand trap that brings back a level 8. So you're always going to have a Barcher in the grave. Your field is pretty full. This would be like something you do after they, super poly a bunch of your monsters, and then you can Hope Dragon, bring back a level 8 and go into a Vengeance Dragon. Of course, in that scenario, you would definitely run the Vengeance Dragon over the Dispatter. Yeah, for the bricks, Sheena is okay. I was just mainly testing it out. I feel like it's warranted its place. I want a card 2 search in phase of Bestial Magnamut. So yeah, just a dragon. Like, Bestials aren't that good, which is why I don't want to run a second Bestial to search with Magnamut. Hope Dragon would be a Magnamut target, but it's not that useful. If you Magnamut on your opponent's turn and get a Hope Dragon on their in phase, that's kind of pretty useless. But if you get a Sheena, if you summon like a Magnamut of Heretic Seals, for example, on their turn, and you get a Sheena on their in phase, on your turn Sheena, that's a pretty good board breaker for the turn 3, which is why that's there. Grand Tusk is there for the Owlbear's out. Of course, there's a bunch of other Owlbear's outs. Quakimeru Drago, Aether Amorphic Sloth, these are all the ones that I've considered, but I feel like Grand Tusk is the best one here, because there's quite a lot of annoying back row. If they like broke your board, you want the Grand Tusk to get rid of, those annoying, the archetypal counter traps that every deck is able to search these days, which is why I decided on the Grand Tusk. Now, as for the hand traps, I've already explained DD Crow, I've already explained Ashes and Drolls are just here to out 4 losses. Magnamut, you can kind of cut Magnamut, to be honest, because we already have a Seals target, which is the Grand Tusk. Magnamut is another Seals target most of the time, because you don't really have a way to summon Magnamut on your own turn. Like, the only lights and darks you're running are Zephyros and DD Crow. Zephyros is always in the grave, but it's still kind of awkward because you gotta bounce something first and then get it back into the grave and then Magnamut it. So yeah, you're basically never using Mag on your own turn as an extender, but it could come up, but it's basically not going to. It's here mainly as a secondary Seals target. So for example, if they Kaiju or Lava Golem or Sphere mode your spheres, for example, you can, and they have nothing on the board at that time for Grand Tusk to pop. You can float into a Magnamut, get an in-phase search on Sheena, which should help your turn 3 case a lot. Ghost Mourner, yeah, I just felt like it's the best hand trap to up my hand trap count. It's a Wind, which is nice for Tempest. It's also usable on your own turn, unlike Effect Veiler. So if Cool Tune tries to stack you, Ghost Mourner is, much better than Veiler in that regards. 4 loss is quite important. It's a level 4 Winged Beast. So it's actually unironically one of the best normal summons in your deck. You can also summon it of Romulus's other effect that no one ever uses, where you get to summon a monster in your hand and it just can't be used as a link material. I mean, since it's a level 4 Winged Beast, you can synchro into Gatorb with it, you can synchro into Batra with it. So yeah, that comes up sometimes. Not a lot though, because this is one of the reasons why Striker Dragon sometimes is better than 3 Burst Dragon. Because usually when you're triggering Romulus's effect to summon from hand, it's because you summoned a Pisty. And since you summoned a Pisty, you're dragon locked, so you can't actually summon a 4 loss from your hand. But occasionally you can summon a 4 loss from your hand if you're like actually synchroning into a Gator while Romulus is on the board, for example. And then you have the 4 loss there that you can later make the Batra with. Now the Imperms, they're alright. They would be Forbidden Crowns if I actually had them. But the price tag on those are quite ridiculous right now. Imperm is about 1% the price of Forbidden Crown, and it's like about 80% as good as Forbidden Crown. But yeah, you can't really run quite a lot of the cool staples that everyone else is running because extra deck spaces are tight. So no Fallen and Virtuous, no Super Poly in this is available for this deck, which means Crown is probably the best option that you have. But yeah, that's deck and the explanation for all of the card choices. Stay tuned for the next video where I go over some combos. Oh, and I almost forgot, another good card to consider maining, depending on your meta, is just 1 copy of the Wind Kaiju, because If you small world reveal draw from your deck, your whole deck can basically small world bridge via draw into the Wind Kaiju. And it's especially good. So if you're running one, you're basically running 4 copies of it via small world. And if your meta has a bunch of Lunar Light players, this could be a good option. If your meta has a bunch of Sky Striker player options, this could be a good one-off to main. But against Sky Strikers, you can also easily bridge into Ash Blossom whenever you want, which outs the Link 2. So yeah, like this is obviously better, but if you don't main it, you could always just grab an Ash and that'll help you break their setup. It's also a win for Tempest, so pretty decent main deck choice, depending on the meta. The only 3 that can't bridge into draw and hence the Kaiju are these 3. Zephyros is a lost cause. I don't think you can bridge into this via small world by any means. But the 2 dragons, you can easily just reveal any dragon. The most disposable is like your 3rd copy of your Remus in your deck that you're never gonna use. And then Dragon, Wind. So yeah, even these guys can bridge into a Gardala.